Hello and welcome to the Oracle Advertising and CX Virtual Summit. Deliver service that meets the moment. I'm Annette, a customer experience coach and consultant, and it is my pleasure to host you today. Customer service is all about responding to a need in the moment, and we have a great lineup of speakers today who will share their expertise and experience on the topic of service that meets the moment. But briefly, let's go back and remind ourselves why this is of critical importance today, more than ever. If the last 2 years have taught us anything, it's the importance of being resilient in the face of constant change. The pandemic turned service departments upside down, causing them to switch to remote at a moment's notice. At the same time, many service departments were overwhelmed with requests and had to rethink how they operated to respond to customers, when and where their customers wanted. During that time, these customers moved to digital channels for everything, from content to purchases to service. So if they're digital and you're not getting face-to-face with customers, whether that's B2B or B2C, then who's delivering the brand interactions? Well, it's service, of course. Gartner predicted that in 2021, a whopping 85% of brand interactions would be handled by service. That means that if you want to improve your customer experience, you need to start with service. Service is your brand. Over the course of the next hour, we'll aim to inspire you with the potential of a digital-first strategy. But let me kick it off first by taking you through my presentation on how to create a market-leading culture that delivers on your brand promise. I always like to start my presentations with a definition of what customer experience is. Not everybody's on the same page when it comes to customer experience, so this is how I define it. The sum of all the interactions that a customer has with a brand over the life of the relationship with that brand, and probably more importantly, the feelings, the emotions, and the perceptions that they have about those interactions with the brand. But I can't talk about what it is without talking about what it is not. Customer experience is not customer service, customer care, customer success, customer satisfaction, or customer marketing. I want to call out one of these terms because it is probably one of the ones that is used most frequently interchangeably with customer experience, and that's customer service. I like to distinguish between the two by using a quote from Chris Zane, founder of Zane Cycles in Connecticut. He has said, and I have modified this a little bit, he has said, service is what happens when the experience breaks down. Service is what happens when the experience breaks down. So if we get the experience right, if we design and deliver the experience that our customers are expecting, we really take some of that load off of the contact center and off of your agents. Customer experience is also not technology. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about technology later on, but technology is a tool that facilitates and supports the experience. Remember, customer experience is a lot about feelings, emotions, and perceptions, and that is very much human. And then finally, customer experience is not just about what happens at the front line. Your back office impacts the experience just as much as the front line. A lot of folks think that you have to be face-to-face or talking on the phone with the customer, interacting with a customer in person, however that is. And that's where the experience happened. But remember, it's about all of the interactions, right? All of the ways that the customer touches your brand and all of the ways that you touch your customers. So remember that the back office is just as important to delivering the experience as the front line. So what are customers' expectations about the experience today? They've certainly changed. They were, and I'll go through this list here on the slide in just a second, they were this already prior to the pandemic, but that has really accelerated the need for the experiences to be fast and convenient and easy and frictionless and effortless and simple and personalized and consistent. Contactless, that's a new one. Instant gratification, and so much more. Expectations are high, and you've got to be able to meet those expectations to survive. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you're a B2B brand or a B2C brand. Customers don't think about B2B, B2C. They think about people buy from people, people interactions. And so you really have to, regardless of what type of business you are, know your customer and understand their expectations. So what does that mean for the brand? Well, a lot of different things. First of all, customer expectations are high, but patience is not. I think we've seen a lot of that lately. Digital transformations have accelerated, and if they haven't, they have to be. If you're not digital yet, you will absolutely need to be digital first going forward. And we'll talk more about that in a lot of the other sessions after mine today. We also have to remember that human interactions are still necessary. The experience is still very much human, and the technology and the human have to work together. They've got to mesh, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that today as well. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that the platinum rule rules. The platinum rule says that we need to treat others the way that they want to be treated. A lot of folks think that the golden rule is the rule, but the golden rule says, hey, treat others the way that I want to be treated. But I don't want to be treated the same way that you want to be treated. So we really need to take the time to understand our customers and understand their preferences, their expectations, and how they want to be treated, and then design the experience for them. And then finally, it really is a necessity to put the customer at the heart of the business. And what I'm talking about here is really customer centricity. It's an approach to business, it's an approach to doing the business in which the brand really focuses on creating positive experiences for customers by taking the time to listen to them, to understand who they are, what their pain points are, what problems they're trying to solve, what jobs are they trying to do. It's a way of doing business in which the business places the customer at the center of everything, of its business model, of its philosophy, of its operations, and its ideas. I always like to say that customer centricity really is this: no decisions, no discussions, no designs without first asking, how is this going to impact the customer? You cannot do this without bringing the customer voice into everything that you do. How is it going to impact the customer? How will it make her feel? How will it deliver value for her? How will it solve problems for her? And customer centricity is also, a way for brands to say, hey, you know what? Customers are the primary reason that we exist. And quite frankly, they are. So customer centricity really has culture as its foundation. It's organization-wide. It's not just an individual effort. I hear a lot of, oh, that was a customer-centric message. Oh, that was a customer-centric marketing effort. That was, a customer-centric this or a customer-centric that. Customer centricity flows through the DNA of the organization. It requires a mindset shift, a behavior shift, and a culture shift. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. When we do that, it benefits not only the customer, but the business, and quite frankly, it benefits your employees as well. So let me take you through the 5 pillars of a market-leading culture. And I define a market-leading culture as one that is customer-centric, because that allows you to ensure that you can deliver service that meets the moment. So let's go through those 5 pillars. The first one is that culture is the foundation. Culture is the foundation of the business. It's the foundation of customer centricity. It's the foundation of your customer experience strategy. Now, it seems kind of strange to say that the first pillar of a customer-centric culture is culture. And the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of people don't view customer centricity as a culture thing. Again, a lot of them think that, I've got a customer-centric message, I've got a customer-centric this. It really does flow through the DNA of the organization, and that DNA is your culture. What is culture? It's core values plus behaviors. So we'd have to define the core values, and you certainly wouldn't want to have a core value or two that is customer driven, and then define the associated behaviors, both unacceptable and acceptable behaviors for each one of those values. Those values are then socialized and operationalized. We bring those values into hiring, firing, promotions. We bring it into any decision that we make. We bring them into designing policies, designing processes. It's how we do things around here, right? So the values have to be a part of everything that you do. And by the way, a customer-centric culture is one that is deliberately designed to be that way. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. All right, the second pillar is your empowered employees come more first. Now that's not a typo, that's an actual quote from Hal Rosenbluth. He had said that, if we're gonna put customers first, then we need to put employees more first. Without the employees, we have no customers. We have no customer experience. Our employees design, deliver the experience, our employees design, deliver products. We need to make sure that they have a great experience. And by the way, when we talk about digital and digital transformation and digital strategies, we need to make sure that our employees have the right tools and the right technology to be a part of that, right? We have to remember that people are really at the heart of a digital transformation strategy. We also want to make sure that with employees that they're involved in these decisions, right? We don't just at some level make the decision that, hey, we're now going to be using these tools and this technology and force that on our employees without having involved them and figuring out what their problems are and how we need to solve those problems as well. So very much important to keep the employees top of mind and more first as we go through the digital transformation and that designing that strategy. Let me talk real quickly about what employee experience is, because It's often confused with a lot of things, and again, want to get everybody on the same page what employee experience really is. So it's the sum of all the interactions that an employee has with her employer during the duration of her employment relationship, plus the actions and the capabilities that enable her to do her job, and again, especially the feelings, emotions, and perceptions that an employee has about those interactions and capabilities. So it sounds very similar to the definition of customer experience as well. So again, can't talk about what it is without talking about what it is not. It's not free massages and dry cleaning. It's not ping pong tables. It's not beer Fridays, right? Those are perks. Those are purely perks. It's also not employee engagement, employee satisfaction, and employee happiness. Those are outcomes. And it's not culture. Culture is actually a precursor to a great employee experience, right? If we have that foundation, if we have that DNA of the organization deliberately designed to be the way that we want it to be and that it needs to be, the employees will have a great experience as well. The third pillar is customer understanding. Customer understanding is the cornerstone. Now, a cornerstone is that reference stone, that first stone that's set in a foundation, and everything else around it refers back to that stone. So if we think about customer understanding, which is achieved in three ways: listening, characterizing, and empathizing, which I'll talk about in a second, but it's all about the data. It's all about what we know and bringing the customer voice into what we're doing, right? If we think about that understanding, that voice as the cornerstone that is set in the foundation of the business, right? And everything else that we do flows around that in reference to that stone. That's why I call customer understanding the cornerstone, right? So I mentioned that there are three ways to achieve customer understanding. Listening is the first way, and it's all about feedback and the breadcrumbs of data that customers leave behind as they interact and transact with your brand. The second way is what I call characterize, and that's all about developing personas. It's not enough to have segments much too high level to design the experience. Personas are at the right level that you need to be able to design the experience right. Now, the key thing about personas is that we can't sit around in the room with a bunch of stakeholders asking them what they think or who they think our customers are. We need to go out and actually talk to customers and ask them about their perceptions, their expectations, their pain points, the jobs they're trying to do, the problems they're trying to solve, and really get a strong understanding of who these similar groupings of customers really are to develop those personas. The third way to understand our customers is what I call empathize, and that's all about journey mapping. And journey mapping is where we walk in our customers' shoes with our customers in the room, in the workshops with us, telling us what they're doing, thinking, and feeling as they interact with the brand, whatever interaction that is, right? So that's what customer understanding is all about, and that's how we achieve it, and that's the voice that we need to bring into everything that I mentioned earlier when we say no discussions, no decisions, no designs without bringing that voice into all of that. This is where that voice comes from. I love to share this image to explain why customer understanding is so important. If you look at this sidewalk system here in this image, if you want to go from point A to point C, great, you've got a sidewalk that takes you that way. If you want to go from point C to point B, you've got a sidewalk to take you there as well. But when the engineers designed the system, this sidewalk system, they forgot about what about if people want to go straight from point A to point B? Well, as you can see, the pedestrians made their own path. So now they can get from point A to point B. There's no sidewalk there. There's just a dirt path that they've created. This is what happens when we don't take the time to understand our customers and what their needs are and what their pain points, what problems they're trying to solve. They will buy your product thinking that it will do for them what they think it should do, and it doesn't. And they try to get it to work and they shoehorn it into what it needs to do, but it doesn't, and it's very frustrating. And so they end up leaving, right? And this is why it's so important for you to find products for your customers and not customers for your products. This is why it's so important to take the time to understand them. Go from point A to point B, make it easy for your customers. Listen to them and develop a product that does just that. The fourth principle is breaking down or connecting silos. By definition, a customer-centric culture is one that is collaborative. It has to be collaborative, right? Customer centricity flows through the organization. It's part of your DNA. It doesn't just reside in one department or another. We've really got to break down or connect those silos. What we really need is for data and information to flow freely from one department to the next so that, I'll give you an example. A customer calls in to, the contact center and says, hey, I made a purchase and the folks in the contact center have no idea what you purchased. Or, hey, I called 3 days ago. Oh, I don't know who you talked to, or, re-authenticate yourself, those kinds of things. That's the kind of experience that customers have when there are silos within the organization, when we're not sharing data, when we're not letting information flow freely. By the way, there are no physical walls to keep that data from flowing freely within your organization, right? So you've got to take the time to break down or connect those silos. And typically what we end up seeing happening is that those silos are created by leadership, where your leader in your department might be saying, hey, this is our work, this is our data, we've done this is ours, we own this, and don't share it with anybody else in the organization. So we've got to get leadership that will go out there and advocate for breaking down those silos, role model, reinforce that, hey, we are sharing information, we're sharing data, we're all in this together, and we're all working toward a common goal, a common cause of designing and delivering a consistent and seamless experience across the organization for our customers. By the way, silos are painful for employees too, so why don't we start there? Because we know employee experience drives customer experience, so breaking down or connecting those silos benefits everybody. All right, and the last pillar is about technology. Technology is important, right? When we're talking about a digital transformation, technology is right there. We've got to have the technology to do that. But we can't forget that people are really at the heart or at the center of a digital transformation. So this is what I say about technology. Data and technology are really critical to delivering a great experience, but they are not the experience, right? You have to remember that the experience is very much human. Technology is a tool and a facilitator of the experience, and it helps us connect with our customers. I think this is probably the most important thing here, is that the technology helps us connect with customers. But again, it's not the experience, because the experience is feelings, emotions, and perceptions, right? It's okay to automate, but people do like doing business with people. So I think when we think about how we use automation, we need to think about how we take some of those menial tasks and some of the more painful things off of both employees and customers and help them simplify the experience by doing that and using the automation for that. And finally, there was some research done by PwC not too long ago that said the more technologically advanced brands become, the more they'll want to interact with a real person. So what that says is you need to make sure that your employees have the tools, the data, everything that they need to be able to deliver that same seamless, consistent, personalized experience that a customer would get if they were to use the technology. So that means getting the right data to the right people at the right time to make that experience happen and make that experience a reality. Let's wrap this up with a few key takeaways. My time is short, and there are a lot of other great speakers coming up with a lot of other awesome content. So here are my top 5 takeaways from this session today. First of all, no discussions, no decisions, no designs without bringing that customer voice and how those decisions and designs will impact the customer into everything that you do, right? Number 2, don't forget about your employees. The employee experience drives the customer experience. Number 3, make sure you take the time to understand your customers. I talked about 3 ways to do that: listening, characterizing, and empathizing. And then making sure that you share those insights throughout the organization. And what that requires is that silos are broken down, right? Silos need to be broken down or connected so that that can happen. Silos will drive a good or a bad experience for employees or customers. So make sure that they're either broken down or connected. And then finally, number 5, data is at the heart of designing and delivering a great connected customer experience. So make sure that you've got the right data, it's accessible, it's quality, and you use it the way that you need to use it to design and deliver that great experience. So now we're going to hear a bit from Kate Leggett, a principal analyst from Forrester, on the key drivers of digital-first service. This is just a snippet, and later on, you can hear more from Kate by going to the full-length video below. After that, you will hear from Daniel Foppen and Alice Park from Oracle Product Strategy on how you can redesign your service strategy to be digital first.
We've identified 4 drivers of digital customer service. So the first driver here is all about valuing your customers' time. It's all about making customer service easy and effective, allowing your customers to interact with you over the channel and touch point of their choice with as little friction as possible. And self-service, if you do it well, really empowers your customers to find the information that they're looking for in an effortless way. So the second driver for digital customer service is the rise of asynchronous messaging. It's like SMS or WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. And what these channels do is it allows customers to communicate with businesses using the modalities that they use in their daily lives. The third driver for digital customer service is really all around that customers expect more personal interactions in the context of who they are and what they've done. Their prior purchases, prior interactions, their history, and indicators as well of what's important to them. Perhaps their attitudes or life events or conversational styles, for example. And companies have to use all this data that they know about the customer's context, to be able to support the customer and do the right thing for them in the context of what the customer is doing. And the fourth driver for digital customer service is all around automation and AI. AI and automation can take over all the repetitive agent tasks and allowing the agent to focus on the customer's problem and the conversation that they're having with the customer. Automation and AI can help increase efficiency by automatically classifying cases or automatically routing work to the right agent queue. It can help reduce friction by escalating interactions to the right agent queue. It can empower customers to be able to self-serve. It can even understand the customer and their journey and understand distress points, for example, and proactively engage with the customer at the right point in their journey to be able to move the conversation forward. And your agents also needed this instant access to data, to customer information, to have the right conversation with your customers, to do the right thing for them.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alice, and I'm here with Daniel.
Hello.
And we are part of the product strategy team for Oracle Service. We're so excited to be here today to talk to you about our favorite topic, amazing service experiences.
That's right. And instead of showing you some boring PowerPoint slides, people, we're going to show you how those amazing service experiences look like in real life. And we're going to be unpacking them as we go. So let's jump right into it.
Let's do it. Let's start with conversational AI and coffee. Cindy here has an issue with her coffee machine. It's an IoT connected machine, and the sensor immediately realizes that there's an issue with the heating system. So it automatically logs a service ticket into the system and lets Cindy know about the issue.
That's exactly where this demo starts. Cindy's going to the website, going to her portal, and hey, what do I need to do to get this issue solved? Clicks on the chatbot. And check this out. Instead of saying, hi, how can I help you? These are the 5 things I can help you with. This chatbot says, hey, Cindy, can I help you with your issue that you have open, your overheating sensor in your coffee machine?
Oh, that's really cool.
I know, right? It is really cool because how often do you see a chatbot that knows your name and knows what your issue is? And that's really what the gist of personalized online service is. They know what your issue are and know who you are. Let's move on.
All right, so what you see here is Cindy is asking the digital assistant about how to change the sensor. However, the digital assistant doesn't have an answer for it. So what it's doing is it's searching the knowledge base of how to find the answer for Cindy.
Okay, but why doesn't the assistant answer it themselves? Why go to knowledge base in the first place?
Daniel, that's a great question. While a digital assistant can be programmed to have all of those different answers at hand, there are 3 good reasons as to why that might not be the best option. So number 1 is if you think about how many questions are asked in a service department, it could be thousands.
Lots for sure, yeah.
Right, there's so many questions that come in. It just isn't feasible to add in all those thousands of different questions and answers into the digital assistant. What's more feasible is to add in maybe 10, 20 questions that are most commonly asked to automate.
Right.
Okay, number 2 is when you think about complex issues with changing a sensor, sometimes it's got a lot of details, lots of images that you need to add. And if you think about it, there are so many steps that are needed, and it just really isn't necessary to add in all of those information and details through the digital assistant, but more through the knowledge base article itself. And lastly, consistency is key. So if you think about it, there are so many different ways that a customer can engage with you, whether it's through a digital assistant, through knowledge base articles, the contact center, and no matter what, all these interactions need to be underpinned by one single source of truth, which is the knowledge base.
That makes a ton of sense, Alice. Let's continue this demo. As you can see, Cindy is feeling a bit uncomfortable. This seems to be rather technical if you're looking into that article, right? So she's going to ask for some help installing or that replacement sensor. So she goes through that kind of an interview. It's a really convenient experience. Yes, no, just click through it. The digital assistant actually retrieves the information from the back office. See what device does she own, what city does she live in, and is going through this whole validation of whether she can apply for a warranty claim or not.
Oh, nice. That sounds very personalized there.
That's right. This is a prime example of digital service automation. Through a series of steps, simple questions, we will actually go to quite a complex determination whether she would file for a warranty claim or not. And that's really important to highlight here. Chatbots, people think of them as simple FAQ bots to deflect calls. Oh, let the chatbot answer the simple call so that people don't call the contact center. But you got to start thinking more about, hey, how can we automate more complex processes using a chatbot, using a digital assistant like this? And that's something I would really encourage all of you viewers also to look at. What are your processes that now involve a lot of manual steps, a lot of complex interaction points, etc.? There may be some really good opportunities for you to automate that.
Right. So let's see how this interview process was made possible. This here is the Intelligent Advisor rules document. You can create rules on how to determine the next best action. And over here, we were able to determine if the warranty plan for Cindy is valid or not. And this is all done simply without the need to code.
All right. So what happens next is that Cindy needs to schedule the field service technician visit to repair the machine. As you can see, it says next Thursday, and the bot is actually able to translate it into an actual date and get that work order in.
Absolutely. How cool is that? We can automate processes like that to schedule a technician to come out, all with digital assistant. The great thing about this entire demo flow is the fact that we can automate these complex flows. And we don't require experts in data science and natural language processing. Any business user with a bit of training can automate these processes and adjust them on the fly.
Right, and that's really important for the total cost of ownership. You're not dependent on those very expensive resources to do this kind of things, right? Mm-hmm. So here we are, people. It may look like a simple chatbot conversation you might find in any given website, but there's actually a lot behind it that makes this happen. And it's a prime example of a great digital first service experience that is hyper convenient for the customer. So let's move on to the second demo.
All right, so this next one is all about using data for intelligent engagement. Daniel, are you ready to break down this 1-minute video?
Let's do this, Alice.
Okay, so it's no secret that today we use online shopping more than ever, especially this past year, right? There's a quote that I like. It's called, "We don't use technology, we live technology." And that's true more than ever. And so, Daniel, when it comes to online shopping, I really rely on digital and convenient experiences, right? What is also a requirement for you?
Yeah, I'm buying more than ever online. Mm-hmm. I take my time to research. I would like to get my answers before I buy something, especially if it's more expensive things like a guitar, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I research, right? I browse the information. And let's look at this demo here. You see Andrea, who is browsing around to shop for some new business attire. Because guess what, Alice? She's going to a conference, a real conference.
A real conference.
Remember back in the days when we were just walking around and seeing people face to face and walked on stage to present? Oh, I miss those days. So anyways, Andrea is going to a conference. She's shopping around for some business attire, and she's really starting to doubt about something because she heard that the sizing is not always accurate in this company. So she's doubting about this particular dress band. And guess what? Believe it or not, right at that moment, she gets an invitation to have a chat with an apparel advisor.
So how did the digital assistant know that was her name, Andrea?
Yes, that is the power of data, my friend. It's beautiful. There's so much data available nowadays. And if you just consolidate all that data, put it around a rich profile, like the one you can see on the screen here, there's so much rich information that we can put together around the customer. I use that for smarter service interactions.
Definitely. All the data from contact information, as you can see, and even transactional data, all of her purchase history, even the last item that she had bought, it's all recorded over here. Now, you can even see the customer lifetime value of Andrea, and she's in the top 20% of customers.
So this is customer intelligence in action. What we did here is we connected a whole bunch of systems, your order management system, your commerce system, your ERP system, your service system, your point of sale system, your market system, etc., around a single dynamic view of the customer. Now, how do we use this information? Well, we're going to go to this other tool, as you can see here. This is the engagement engine. So here is where we set the rules to proactively engage with Andrea right at the moment she needs it. So as you can see here, first we're going to evaluate, is she browsing a product that's expensive enough, more than $300 in this case? Is it a customer that sits in the top 20% of customer lifetime value? Yes. Is it a customer that has 4 seconds of inactivity? If so, then offer this proactive pop-up with a invitation live chat connecting to the VIP white glove service queue. So that's how you use that kind of information, a rich profile, to intelligently engage to the right customers at the right time on the website.
I love it. So Andrea receives an invitation to chat in the exact moment that she needs it. And this is just one of the many ways we can use data to provide amazing customer experiences.
So here you go, a great example of data driving better experiences. Now let's look at the third example here, which is the other side of the coin, the agent experience. Look, it's not easy to be a customer service agent at all. There's angry customers on the phone all day. You're often having to go into like 19 different applications to find out what information is you need. The tools that you're using were built in the 1900s somewhere. It's not a very fun job, right?
Right. And let's not forget about the newer generation that we have today. People want a great user experience, and they didn't have 2 weeks to onboard people onto TikTok and Instagram, right, Daniel?
That's right. What does a modern agent experience look like? Let's have a look at the chat that comes in from Andrea and the agent desktop. So when the agent Red opens up that incoming chat, automatically the workspace is loaded. The thread on the left with a chat, and then you'll see other core information from the customer. What are the past incidents, interaction the customer has had with customer service over all different channels. In one click, the agent's able to open more customer information, including the 360 view of the customer.
Oh, wow. What's that flipping screen thingy?
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? The accordions where you expand, and the flip screen, the flip tiles. These are all very well-designed UI elements, really built in with the idea to make the cognitive overload as light as possible. So removing non-core information, but still giving easy access to the information the customer service agent needs.
Cool. And this customer 360 information is everything that we've seen before, all about Andrea. This is real-time intelligence coming in about her transactional data. We know that she's a high-value customer with her spending. And so we have all this information as a customer service rep to be able to give her the right type of service experience that she deserves.
Exactly. And as you can see here, the agent can even see what the customer is typing as a preview. And that's really important. It may sound a bit creepy, but this is really good because it offers the time to look up the answer, start typing the answer, etc. And for the customer, it's just a better experience. You get faster to the point answers.
After getting the answer, the customer has another question, but it could be answered much easier through a video chat. So within one click, we initiate that video chat, and voila, there we go. It starts it, and it provides a more white glove service experience.
Exactly. And to your point earlier about the younger generations, they are so used to using FaceTime or WhatsApp. Video chat is such an easy way to build more rapport with a customer. All right, folks. So here we are. Some examples of next generation service experiences. We started with a chatbot. That's more than just some FAQ answering bots you may find everywhere. This is with knowledge management embedded, with intelligent advice flows, with seamless process integration with back office systems, etc.
Right. And in addition to all those new innovative technologies, we also showed you the power of data and how we can fuel that data to provide those intelligent engagements for the customer.
And then we talked about how that chat from the consumer side looks from the agent side and what modern agent experience look like with all the data, the 360 view, intuitive tools, easy escalation to video chat for the white glove experiences. Some examples of cool service experience that are all, by the way, very easy to implement today. So if you're interested in this and you say, hey, that would be interesting for my business, give Oracle a ring because we'd love to help you with that.
We hope this was valuable to you, and let's move on to the next section for today's event. Thank you so much.
See you next time.
Thank you so much, Kate, Alice, and Daniel. It's amazing to see all the ways that data and automation can deliver intelligent engagements that elevate the service experience for both customers and agents. A chatbot that knows me and my questions, now that's an incredible service experience. And like Alice said, we live technology. Next up, I'd like to introduce you to Jeff Wortko, Vice President of Oracle Service Product Management, to take you through a few real-life customer examples of putting a digital-first service strategy into practice. Over to you, Jeff.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Wortko, and I'm Vice President of Product Management for Oracle Service. And I really appreciate all of you sticking with us to this point in the presentation, because I really think you're going to enjoy this next section. You're about to hear about some real-world businesses that are on the path to deliver service that meets the moment. And the first company we want to show you is Razer. They're the world's leading lifestyle brand for gamers, and they are focusing on service automation to keep their customers in the game, while at the same time building an experience that is agile enough for them to make changes with anything the world throws at them. So let's hear more from the Razer team.
We strive for customer satisfaction across the board and making sure every interaction from our customer base is one that's extremely positive. What we do is service any type of gamer anywhere at any point in time so that we can continue to stay being the premier provider for all things gaming. When the calls do come in, we have the ability to pop the customer's history and all the other times that person might have reached out to us so that an agent has what they need and can give you that information as soon as possible.
For me, it's really just making the customer experience a lot better. That's my number one goal. And digital first allows us to be very nimble and very agile. We started adding videos to our chat, to our ODA. We saw a huge increase in terms of viewing, and also the answers got a much better rating. We're able to get instant feedback, where we can move very quickly. That's really important for us. And also the customer experience has also improved drastically as well. I mean, we've seen our NPS score improve at least 10 points since we started doing all of these little things. And so we've seen that, digital assistant, it's helped us tremendously by cutting not only the cost, but also making the customer experience better. Regardless of who we partner with on the back end or who our partner, customers don't know that, right? All they know is that this is Razer, right? I mean, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it's on Razer. And so it's very important to make sure that we collaborate, and we do a very close collaboration with Oracle.
When you look at the Razer fan base, you're dealing with incredibly tech-savvy people. Oracle has had the opportunity to learn so much from Razer through this journey. How they're looking to expand to these other use cases, whether it be commerce and loyalty through Razer Gold, is going to be incredibly valuable for us. And we just want to make sure we're part of that ride because it's going to enhance all of our products across CX.
At the end of the day, it's all a reflection of the Razer brand and how can the Razer brand be perceived as even stronger than it already is. And that comes down to creating, great service experiences. People might look at it and might go, well, hang on, Five9's got this capability and Oracle's got that capability as well. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. We have a role to play. Everyone has a role to play on the Razer team.
Thanks to the team at Razer for helping us put that segment together. Now, we've talked a great deal about automation and digital technologies, but there's always going to be a uniquely human element to service. And I like to think about the technologies we work with, they're not just about efficiency, they're also about unleashing human potential. And to give you a great example of this, my good friend Quiva Maxwell recently had the opportunity to connect with Turning Point. Turning Point is an organization that provides health and social services across 300 locations in England. And they have done a great job of blending the human element and technology. We loved it so much that we wanted to share it with you again. So take it away, Quiva and Johnny Barton from Turning Point.
Welcome back, Johnny. Let's dive a little bit deeper into Turning Point's challenges. In fact, we'd love to hear a little bit more from you about Turning Point and what it is that you do.
Thank you, and thanks for asking me back. Turning Point is a national health and social care charity. We're a social enterprise, and we work at over 300 locations across England and Wales. We work with people who've got drug and alcohol problems, mental health issues, learning disabilities. We've run GP practice for the homeless in the past. We have a whole range of services around the country.
Right. Truly inspirational work that you do. I know you mentioned moving into the digital world, and I believe you've called it the 21st century journey.
Yeah, we've constructed over the last 5 years of our digital strategy, looked at understanding that everybody goes into one of our services, whether it's going to be somewhere you're going to be for 6, 12 months in one of our mental health services, or whether it's somebody who's doing a needle exchange, somebody who's wanting to be able to have a look at their alcohol use. Each of those journeys is actually breaking down in something really similar. We take people through the concept of we need to engage with them. We need them to be able to contact us in as many ways as possible. We want to be able to assess and screen to check the way that they, the issues that they've got and how we can best help them, plan how we do that, and then manage them through the process and help them out the other side, and always be there to be able to deliver aftercare. Now, each of those stages, we've been able to widen the number of channels that we deliver that over, from just face-to-face or telephone to a whole range of digital opportunities now, to try and make sure that actually people can pick the right channel for them at that right time. Everybody engages with things on a different basis, as we talked about on the panel, and that human-to-human interaction is always needed. But actually, sometimes our services are closed, but actually we can still take a referral, we can still help you on the journey. And that's what we see as a 21st century healthcare journey. It's about how people just move through our services and creating as many touch points as possible and creating choice.
Sounds like you're really using that automation and to the best of the ability to assist in serving more people and serving them in the way that they're choosing to, while keeping that human touch, which is so important, like you say. Then tell me, how did COVID affect your delivery of these services?
It was quite a shock to the system. I think it's probably fair to say the biggest challenge the organisation's ever faced. Overnight, obviously, our staff couldn't travel to work. Our community services, our clients couldn't travel in to see us, but also we run care homes up and down the country, and we needed to keep these residential support that we deliver to people running. So there's a whole range of things that we've had to adapt and change to. How can we support our staff who are still at work, or at work today, and have been at work throughout the process in the site, helping people on a day-to-day basis, masked up, PPE, the full type of thing. We actually developed a quick app to be able to help us manage our PPE stock at the time as well, because it became very clear very quickly that we needed to be able to maintain the service quality that we did in our bricks and mortar services, where we're open 24/7. But for our community services, we had to change some of the models of our delivery. And luckily, we'd done quite a lot of the underpinning work to be able to deliver digital solutions, whether that be online treatment using our My Turning Point platform, which allows us to deliver structured treatment for people with drug and alcohol issues over a learning platform that they can engage with on a weekly basis with the support of their key worker remotely, or moving into delivering services over video. But luckily, we had quite a lot of the technology and digital solutions already in place.
So to that point, Jenny, what is next for Turning Point? What are your plans?
I think it's very much about doing more of the same. We just talked about in creating more choice. making sure that we've got all the channels that people use in their day-to-day lives available to them to be able to be in touch with Turning Point and Right Steps and Live Life as well. There are new channels always emerging. We've recently been looking at communicating with people over TikTok. We've been looking at doing a whole range of stuff via video, as people want to continue to think about them choosing the channel and the place and time of their service. We're wanting to make sure that we create automation and workflow for our teams as well, because they work really hard. We want to be able to take away the repetitive tasks that they do on a day-to-day basis, work out how we can enable them to do more, to support the people that we work with in a better way, creating knowledge bases, creating asset stores that they can go and pull from to be able to do more with less as we go. The economy, we know, is uncertain. How can we go? How can people engage with services virtually? There's a whole range of places, but the key is delivering customer service, delivering a service to our clients, our end users, our patients that really meets their need when by the channel that they select. I think that's going to be key to be able to really take that feedback and continually build something that's more and more successful as we go. Trying to help more people is definitely why we're all here and working on the projects that we are. How can we use different technologies in order to be able to make sure that everybody can access our services, but all at the same time, as we mentioned on the chat with Andrew, not reinforcing the digital divide, but not wanting to make sure that we're not going to stop delivering our face-to-face services. We want to make our face-to-face services better. We want to be able to enable people to be able to get in touch with Turning Point and be able to gain from what they want and be able to learn.
Fantastic. Like you say, it really is, no matter what industry you're in, service is about the customer and responding to their needs in the moment. And if you're not doing that, then it isn't service. I think what you've done in Turning Point is such a fantastic example of blending the digital with face-to-face, with that human touch. And I know you've done a lot of work in developing service that's proactive, that's personalized, it's unique, it's convenient. And I wonder, what are your top 3 tips based on the learnings you have for anyone looking to really develop their digital service?
I think listen to your users. It's got to be, there's no point in building anything if no one's ever going to use it. So make services that people want to use. Make them easy and clear. Make them clean and efficient. Make them frictionless is the first one. The second one is take the staff with you. We need your workforce to be digitally enabled as well. A lot of our staff in care, it's not something that they have to use on a day-to-day basis, technology. The more that we can help our staff develop, the more they can collaborate with colleagues, the more that they can learn online, the more that they can then support our customers, our clients with those digital solutions is better. And the third tip I'd probably say is always look ahead. There's always something new. And look outside of your sector, look outside of your little box, because someone somewhere is doing something that is analogous to what you do, but it's in a completely different industry. We've learned a lot from the service industry, from hospitality, from the way that people want to engage. So look outside of the box would be my third tip.
Right. So inspirational, both in terms of the work that you do and the amazing impact it has on the community, but also in your operations, and to me, so innovative. I think there's a lot that we can all learn from. So thank you, Johnny.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the team at Turning Point for sharing that story with us. Now I want to welcome back Annette Franz, who spoke to you at the top of the presentation. Annette, welcome back.
Thanks so much. Yeah, those were great stories from Turning Point, and thank you to them for joining us.
Yeah, it was great to see them share what they're doing and what Razer was doing, kind of two companies that are on other sides of the spectrum, but doing some amazing things in customer experience.
Absolutely. Let's go back to some of the things that I talked about in my presentation. How do you feel each of them are doing in terms of that market leading culture and creating that customer centric culture? Do you think they're customer driven? Are we seeing that in these two companies?
Yeah, you know what? I think they are. And when I was listening to them, all of the points you were making were just resonating with me throughout. The way Razer is trying to put themselves in the shoes of a gamer, whether that gamer is sitting in the lobby waiting for the next round of Call of Duty to start or actually live in a gaming experience. They want to make it as easy for them when they reach out for assistance. It all starts, though, with what the person on the other end is feeling. And then also with Turning Point. How many times did Johnny Barton mention choice of channel? And he wasn't just trying to cover a lot of people. He's like, listen, somebody's reaching out to us for assistance, for help. And we want to make sure they're communicating with us on the channel that's the most comfortable for them. I think those are all great examples of that, the culture you want to create an amazing service experience.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Talking about channel, one of the things that I brought up in those pillars was around breaking down or connecting silos. It's so important that the entire company is really collaborating and working together and sharing that information. It's really, the only way that you can get those seamless experiences, those consistent experiences across the channel, across department, across business unit. It sounds like they're doing a great job with that as well.
You know what? Whenever you start talking about breaking down silos and that collaboration, what I always try to remind people of is, service teams in particular, they're no longer delivering just customer service. They're delivering these holistic brand experiences. And for so many organizations out there, the service team might be the only time they ever connect with a customer. So they need to have access to commerce systems, sales systems, marketing systems, and know every different touch point a customer might have had before they engaged in order to deliver the service that they expected. So tearing down those silos is just essential now.
Absolutely. And everything that you just said there, that's a great segue into the other pillar, which is employee experience, making sure that they have the tools and the technology, the training, the research, everything that they need to deliver a great experience. It sounds like Turning Point and Razer are doing a great job in designing and delivering great experiences for their employees.
Yeah, and this is something I think so many people don't focus on enough because, Annette, like when you're in a service experience in particular or a sales experience and you're engaging with somebody who's representing a brand, you can tell when you're speaking to somebody who's just really into it, who just loves their job, they're an enthusiast. It's almost like it's a hobby for them to help you. And how do you create these, super agents or super representatives? Well, you can't if you're weighing them down with all these systems and processes and everything is so complex for them. The systems that are designed to support this service representative, they can also be the biggest barrier to delivering a fantastic customer experience. So when you put that employee first and everything you design is like, wait a minute, how are we going to make this easier for our people? When you put that focus and make that part of your culture as well, you're going to have all these service enthusiasts throughout your entire company.
Absolutely agree. And that, is another great segue into another part that I was talking about, another one of those pillars that's critical to developing a market-leading culture, and that is around customer understanding. It's such a huge part of designing and delivering a great experience, taking the time to really listen to customers, walk in their shoes, and use what you've learned to design a better experience for customers, which was, if you think about that, doing such a great job with that customer understanding work and using it to design a better experience. Do we think that Razer and Turning Point are doing that as well?
I think it's actually, I think both serve as great examples of customer understanding because when people think about knowing your customer, it's more than just having their name and address and their order number at your fingertips. It's knowing like what channel do they want to talk on? How do they want to engage? Do they want a self-service? Do they want to talk to somebody? At that moment, do they just want something quick and easy, press a button and it's fixed? Or is this something that maybe a longer engagement, a more thoughtful engagement is more appropriate? You can see how they're working that in, particularly Turning Point. They're blending technology and that uniquely human aspect of service, to where if somebody calls at 3 a.m. and nobody's available, you still need to engage with them. But then you also need to make it as easy as possible for people to come in and have these long-term counseling sessions with people and bring them into the fold and make them feel comfortable in this setting. The blend of human to technology and back, knowing what the customer wants, and also some of the channels that they are experimenting with. You see like Turning Point's looking to do service on TikTok. Razer's doing stuff in-game. They're going to meet their customers where they need assistance. That's all about listening to your customer.
Yep. And you pulled in that last pillar very nicely there as well, which is all about technology, right? Making sure that technology is really allowing us to stay connected with our customers, but also making sure that employees have the right tools and the right technology they need to deliver that personalized experience that customers want at every touch point, every step, every call. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but thought you did a great job just pulling into that last point that you made there. So anything else about the technology?
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you're looking at technology and data, we're Oracle, and this is what we do. We work with data, we work with technologies to allow our customers to create great experiences for their customers. But when you look at any of these examples, Turning Point, Razer, or any other company that we admire who's doing things so correctly, the big thing I really want to point out is the first 4 recommendations you had are paramount to having a successful technology and data strategy. You need to have the culture in place. You need to break down the silos. You need to put employee experience first and foremost. You need to really know your customer and know what they want from your technology. And once all those are in place, your technology and data strategy will be flawless. But if you neglect any of those 4, it's going to fall short. I mean, because it just doesn't work in a vacuum. So we need to look at these recommendations, all 5 of them working in concert with one another in order to deliver an outstanding customer experience.
I love that. I like how you summarize that, tie them all together, and they really all do work together. Not one of them can be, taken into account without the other. There's 5 pillars for a reason. So thank you to you and to the team from Razer and Turning Point. We've really enjoyed your presentation, Jeff, and their presentations as well. A key theme that we heard today is that service isn't a one-size-fits-all, and service needs to deliver that human touch, whether provided by a human or through self-service. With that, we've come to the end of today's session. We'd like to thank all of our wonderful guests and speakers, and most importantly, we'd like to thank you all for taking the time to join us to hear about how a digital-first service strategy will set you up to deliver service that meets the moment. Be sure to check out the additional content below, where Daniel Foppa interviews a few of Oracle's key partners and learns how they each work with Oracle to deliver service excellence. There's also an expanded video from Kate Leggett as she shares more on reinventing customer service to be digital first. Thanks so much for joining us.